Hello guys, in today's video we're going to be covering one of the most notorious influencers around right now, how Tate makes his millions. We're going to be looking at his marketing tactics, his persuasion tactics, and how he has built his course business to 10 million per month. If you saw my previous video, you will already know that I have talked about Tate a little bit because he was also one of the gurus who was using fake engagement to help with his brand. And he actually has a person dedicated to PR who was talking about how they have a team who scan the web for any negative Tate comments and basically go and send lots of fake engagement to whatever it's on, YouTube, Twitter, so that they can reverse the narrative there. Clever stuff.
We have a PR campaign team. We go and we see all medias, whether positive or negative, that mentions Tate. We will send people, again, very real looking, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, social media accounts, and they go and they comment on your posts. They try to counter your narrative. They're partly real people, partly bots, very, very highly trained.
So this technique of what you're actually watching here is called social proof. And what social proof is, it's a persuasion technique, and it's basically the theory that humans look to other humans to make decisions. So an ethical example of social proof in action in marketing will be client testimonials, customer reviews, things like that. Humans would read those reviews and think, you know what, that person sounds like they're struggling with something that I'm actually struggling with as well, and this product works for them, so I'm going to buy it. That's social proof. But social proof is also coming in the form of fake reviews, fake engagement, fake comments as well, which is designed to help the person's brand, help the person's image, particularly in the case with Tate, where he's using techniques like this, social proof, fake engagement, to reverse any bad narratives around him. Now you're all caught up to speed, let's talk about what else he does, what other competitive advantages he uses to try and get ahead of everyone and to get people to buy from him. Now, before I go on, I've got to say that Tate is obviously an incredibly controversial figure. So controversial, in fact, that when I was commenting his name on my last video, YouTube was deleting my own comments. It was censoring me. Right? He's also a person who's going through severe legal issues as well. So let's keep the legal issues out of this video. I'm just focused on the marketing, the psychology of what he's doing for his business. Some of the marketing stuff he does is probably some of the best marketing that I've seen come from an influencer. Some of the other stuff that he does is some of the most manipulative stuff I've seen come from an influencer. So you watch the video, you decide what you think. So let's look into some of the things which makes Tate's brand so effective. First of all, number one, he knows how to play the social media game, and he's known about it for years. He's one of the few people that knows attention is what you need to grow a personal brand. And because he doesn't seem to have very many boundaries, he will do that with whatever means possible.
Next, attention is free advertising. So you need to get good at getting some attention, somehow. I get attention, but you need to find a way to get attention. Because all advertising is buying attention, which is fine. But buying attention is more expensive than getting attention for free. For this, I'm gonna put in an example of my Star Wars thread. we're gonna start putting it on the screen now. When you look at my Star Wars thread, I said something that pissed off the nerds, started to go viral, started to get traction, and for every single tweet afterwards, all I'm trying to do is promote my website. I'm doing it in a funny way, I'm doing it in a way that annoys them, I'm doing it in a way that's gonna get some interaction, but I'm still trying to promote my website from start to finish. That is the end goal. Get attention, and then do not be afraid to shamelessly sell.
So that is Tate from years ago, before he went viral online, talking about the power of attention. And he even used an example there of where he went and annoyed a group of people who like Star Wars by just slating it and getting a reaction from them. He knows what buttons to push when it comes to getting reactions from people.
Now that's not easy in the modern world because everybody's vying for each other's attention, especially on the internet. Everyone is competing for attention, but attention is key. Attention is the currency of the modern world. Attention is gonna accelerate everything. So you need to keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to do things that are a little bit crazy to get people to pay attention to you.
Did you hear what else he said there? He said in this attention economy, because everyone is now trying to get attention, you might have to do something a little bit crazy and a little bit out there to get as much attention to yourself to stand out from the rest of the crowd. which, would you believe it, years later, he's known as one of the most controversial influencers because of some of the things that he says. And a few years later, he does this podcast circuit. So he goes on people's podcasts and he talks to them. And rather than just being a typical guest and just talking about their experience on the podcast, he actually, knowingly, I believe, says some pretty aggressive things to get as much attention as possible. And listen to what he says when he's being interviewed about these techniques.
I do instigate to a degree because they make it so easy to win. It's so easy for me to win debates against people because they get so pissed off with what I say. Another thing, and I'll give the game away, why I've destroyed absolutely everybody in any debate ever. I say things that they know are true and that they agree with, but I say it in a way that angers them emotionally, and they get caught up in their brain because they're saying, he's saying the truth, but I'm pissed off by how he's saying it. So I want to argue with him.
Unfortunately, us humans, we love to be entertained. And what is more entertaining to us than watching conflict happen? You think back to the schoolyard, the playground when you were younger, and if anybody was having a fight or some sort of argument, kids would all crowd around and watch it. If you look at reality TV like Love Island, if you look at Big Brother, people watch the episodes the most where there is some sort of conflict, some sort of disagreement, some sort of fight, because people love to be entertained. Viewership actually spikes on those days. Tate knows this. He knows people want to be entertained. So what he does is he actually instigates and starts off some sort of controversial moment. He'll say something which is pretty outlandish to get some sort of response from the person who's sat opposite him. And even when he's sat on a podcast with his friends, he'll say something which is controversial, which he knows will get the attention of the viewer and create some sort of conflict there. Very, very smart strategy to get attention for yourself if you don't really care what people think about you.
So instead of saying men are physically stronger than women, I'll say females are weak. Females are weak. Well, females are weak. Females are weak. Men are strong. Females are weak. No, but females, but I'm right. And he knows I'm right. But he's mad now. And so is she. And then I do a podcast and I get billions and millions of views and unlimited likes against good debaters by just emotionally controlling them. It's an emotional game. But this is what I do. I sit there and I say something they know is true in a way they can't agree with it. And I control them all. Because they're stupid.
Did you just catch what he did there? I'll play it back for you and see if you can catch it. He explained exactly what I've just explained, what his plan is. He tries to create that conflict. He instigates the situation. But then he does something else just at the end of that clip. Let's watch it again.
It's an emotional game. I wreck them. I've never given this game away before anywhere. But this is what I do. I sit there and I say something they know is true in a way they can't agree with it. And I control them all. Because they're stupid.
True in a way that they can't agree with it, and I control them all because they're stupid. He literally does exactly in that clip what he's telling you he's doing. So he instantly instigates some beef again. So this is an actual perfect meta example, and I'm sure it's deliberate as well. He's explaining the situation, and because he doesn't want to, start beef with the two people who are actually interviewing in the room, he then calls the previous people who he's talking about he's used his technique on, he calls them stupid in the hope that he's going to start some cross-podcast beef again. Very, very quick-witted to actually be able to do that in the moment. And he is coming from the angle that any type of attention is good attention. And to be honest with you, we do live in a world where there's no such thing really as negative attention, because you can actually just overcome it in the end. If you look at Donald Trump, Donald Trump during his presidential campaign in 2016 had an affair with a porn star and paid her off, and it only made his fan base grow bigger. If you look at Jordan Belfort, the actual person Leonardo DiCaprio was acting as in Wolf of Wall Street. He went to prison for ripping off tons and tons of people, millions and millions and millions he took from innocent people. And then he went to prison, and then he got a shorter sentence by grassing out and snitching on all of his friends, right? The people who he has actually sold the dream to, and he got a shorter sentence, and all them went down. And then when this film came out, everyone was so overwhelmed by how cool the film was that he actually came out and got a following and now has a YouTube channel, Jordan Belfort, of 500,000 subscribers. I'm not deliberately trying to beef with people here. What I'm trying to point out is that society doesn't really care after a certain amount of time that you have done you know, some terrible things, they just kind of forget about it. And if they like you, they like you, and all is forgiven. That, unfortunately, is human nature. So now we're in a situation where he's created this entertaining persona. Either he's done it through conflict, he's done it through, you know, instigating different beefs with people. He's perhaps said some funny things as well, and people are starting to, you know, enjoy his message or search Google to find out who exactly this guy is. And when they come across posts of this guy, all they can see is singing praise from real engagement, but also some of the fake engagement his PR team do as well. So this further creates curiosity. Now, the next step, what he does is actually pretty masterful. He empathizes with what he thinks his target audience's needs are and what they are missing out on in life and their current situation. This is classic marketing. He describes how hard manhood is to the average person who's probably experiencing some sort of difficulty right now. Check this out.
Manhood is exceptionally hard, and life is hard. But how you shape yourself will determine how hard it is for you and how miserable it will be. As a man, there is no easy life. Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. And being invisible, I would argue, is almost worse. You can have a very stress-free life if you work in Starbucks. You don't care about the Starbucks once you clock off. You go home, you play video games, and you exist until you die. Alternatively, you can go out there into the world, try and implement your mark on the world, work hard, try to get rich, more money, more problems. You can try and start a business.
So right there, he is describing the typical male experience. And that is empathizing with their situation. Talking about how hard it is being a man. Talking about how you don't have any value to society. And you can still carry on and walk this path that you've been walking, which is a painful path, but you can work at Starbucks, clock in, clock out, and not worry about anything else, but it's still a painful life. Or you can go through a different form of suffering, because your life's already suffering, remember, and start a business and become a high-value man like him. It's amazing marketing how he was describing that. And from what I could see, he was describing it off the top of his head as well. That right there is great marketing. I am sat here knowing what he's doing, and I can feel like it's resonating with me because I've also walked this path as well. You know, I've got a friend, and he's a really good friend of mine, and we debate all the time over topics. I say he is the wokest man I've ever met, right? He's got, you know, a wife, some kids as well, beautiful family, and he is super woke on like just all sorts of issues. And like, I think he's like a bit too in that direction. You know what I mean, right? But even he says that sometimes he's heard Tate speak, and he says even he finds himself sometimes nodding along thinking, damn, that describes the average male experience. And then he says that he quickly gets snapped out of it because then he says some, you know, crazy stuff about like women or whatever. But that's how you know when someone is masterful at describing and empathizing with a situation and is super persuasive. It's when people who wouldn't naturally like you resonate with your message. Do you see how that works there? And Tate obviously knows his audience very well. He knows that, you know, men sometimes feel like they're struggling, particularly younger men. They don't really know what direction to go in life. And what he does is a marketing tactic called causing pain, pushing the pain points. So what you do in this marketing tactic, you usually see it on webinars. And on the webinars, they will usually outline your current situation. You know, you are a business who are doing etc. amount per month. And then they'll outline the situation you want to get to. You want to add 10% of revenue to your business each year. And then they'll say, you know, the things which are stopping you and the problems that you're feeling right now. You feel like you don't have the right staff in place, etc., etc. So I've just given you a very businessy example so you can see how it works. But what Tate is doing is he is drilling down on those emotional drivers for men, and he is pushing them. He's saying, you know, it's very difficult being a man. He also made another video which went super viral, and I remember the first few words of it. He says, women will never understand how lonely men can feel, right? Wow, what a powerful thing to say in a video, pushing on those emotional drivers. He's describing that current situation. And if you take a step back and look what he's doing, after he's caused that bit of pain and he's talked about that situation, he then casually positions the solution to the problem here as Hustlers University, which is his business which the marketing message worked so well that he was doing 10 million a month eventually with it. Because there was I think it was like 200,000 people that were signed up active customers at the time, which is obviously huge. But you will see like that bit right there, amazing marketing, describing the person's situation and really empathizing with them. And then what you see in a minute is where it switches to like a little bit of manipulation tactics. And I'll show you what I mean by that.
The system which is designed to keep you as a slave is strong. And it's designed to keep most of the people at the bottom slaving away, praying to have money they're never going to have, so that those at the top can stay filthy, filthy rich. There has to be a chink in the armor. Something has to happen, which the Matrix has not prepared itself for. So there's an opportunity for the masses, for people at the bottom, for the shit munchers to break through and become ultra high net worth individuals, as I have. You need to start preparing for the impending fiscal doom which will bestow most of the average people of Earth. Most Joe Schmoes of Earth are waiting. They don't know what they're waiting for, but I'll say what they're waiting for. They're waiting to be crushed. That's what's going to happen. And if you're sitting here and you've watched this video and you do not take the steps as a full-grown adult to educate yourself about your impending doom, you deserve what happens to you.
And this is where he now goes to the close and capitalizes on all the previous work that he's done. So first of all, he's went broad market. He's tried to generate as much attention as possible by going for that conflict, by, starting different beefs with people, by saying some outlandish things, which made people search him. And then once they've searched him, they've seen nothing but glowing reviews of him. And then once they have started to look into him even further, they've come across these messages where they're like, you know what, this dude actually wants the best for us here. And then what happens is he has further driven that pain in there, hit those pain points, described that current situation, casually positioned his business, Hustlers University, his course, as a solution to the problems the people are facing. And then what he does is he creates urgency. He says things like, you are going to have a life of, crushing pain if you don't take action right now. This is your only opportunity to take advantage of this current situation and escape the system, escape the matrix. And this is where, in my opinion, it gets really, really, manipulative there, because it is fear-based marketing. And not only is it fear-based marketing, you're practically telling people who, are arguably a little bit naive as well, because they've taken in some of the other messages that you said. You're telling them that they will never amount to nothing unless they buy your course right now. And for me, like, it's just a bit too much. A bit too much, that is. And you got to ask yourself here, guys, if a person is willing to say something which is completely untrue, which is, if you do not take my course right now, you are gonna have a life of misery, you're gonna get crushed, you're gonna be, taken advantage of, you're gonna be stuck in the system. If a person is willing to say that about you because you haven't bought their course, do they really care about you? No, of course they fucking don't. They only care that you put your money into their bank account. You pay them for something. That's why they're pushing so hard on it. Really, if they wanted to empower you, they would say, listen, it's a tough time at the moment. You can do this. I've got something which can help you here. They wouldn't say like, your life is basically going to be over if you don't take this course. Like, look at the incentives here. But people eat this stuff up, and it's actually kind of mind-blowing to me that people just take this stuff at face value and like, oh, my life's really going to be over if I don't buy this course right now. Of course it's not going to be over. Look at what the person who's pushing you in that direction is going to get out of you taking those actions. And so he's engineered this entire situation, and it's worked incredibly well. And you can see the benefit of the attention which he's generated has got him guest appearances on so many different podcasts, which then has allowed this loop to continue, this positive feedback loop of getting his name out there as well. And there's also some more psychology which goes on. The more attention he gets, the more people want to speak to him as well. And people are doing anything to speak to him. People are offering him money to speak to him because they know that if they get him on their podcast, they're going to get loads of views now. And there's this other cool bit of psychology which happens as well when two podcasters or two big names get together. They share each other's platforms, share each other's audience. Something called association bias. And what association bias is let's say Patrick Bet-David, a lot of people who watch, he interviews Tate and shares, you know, Tate's message with the world. If Tate is well liked and people haven't heard of Patrick before, Patrick will become well liked as well. If Patrick is well liked and people haven't heard of Tate before, they will also automatically like Tate as well. This is called association bias. It's been tested again and again and again. But likewise, if you've got someone like the BBC interviewing Tate, which we've seen, and BBC, let's just say they do make relevant points. I didn't really watch the interview, but let's just say they did. Even if they're questioning someone who's very, very liked, let's say Tate, who's got all the power in that situation, people will naturally be influenced not to like the BBC because Tate doesn't like the BBC. So then other people won't like the BBC because it's association bias. They just associate it with the person. They'll be like, BBC bad, I don't like them anymore. And likewise, when some people watch this video that I'm making right now, this association bias is so powerful that some people actually won't like me for this video, for where I've pointed out that Tate is manipulating things. But other people will like me because I've pointed out that Tate is a good marketer in certain places as well. It's very, very powerful. It governs us all, this stuff. So that brings me to the end of the video. There's an awful lot of stuff Tate does, which is great marketing tactics. And honestly, it's just too much to stick into a single video. We can see that he uses fake engagement to push up his brand, to manage his PR, to change the narrative on things. We can see that he's amazing at empathizing with people's situation. We can see as well, he's a master at creating conflict which gets him attention, and he's known about it for years and years and years. We can also see as well, he tries to capitalize on it with fear-based marketing, with urgency, with telling you that you probably won't be able to escape unless you take this chance now and join his course. Let me know what you think of Tate's marketing tactics. I'm very curious to read the comments, and you know, I do my best to respond. What I would recommend though is you don't mention his name in the comments, because YouTube was, like I was saying, patrolling my comments last video and was actually censoring me whenever I made a comment about it. Apart from the first initial comment I made, it was deleting my comments. Take it easy, guys. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.